We are staying with our coverage of the 79th United Nations General Assembly. The UN Summit for the Future was the time for Nigeria to join the global partnership towards ensuring a better world, peaceful and stable. Vice President Kashim Shettima and other delegates from the federal government, subnationals and private sector held talks with development partners and deepened ties with other countries towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde reports from New York.
Nigeria's participation at the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly was quite productive, considering how the advocacy for the reforms of the United Nations Security Council to admit 2 African countries gained traction. This time around, Nigeria may just get a seat at the table.
Vice President Kashim Shettima led Nigeria's delegation to this annual global event. Beyond delivering Nigeria's national statement, he has held several meetings on the sideline. These arrangements have opened up new prospects and opportunities, including a partnership between MasterCard and Nigeria to support 1 million farmers to improve yields and agricultural productivity. There's another $600,000 commitment for flood relief, food and agricultural sectors reform from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. ExxonMobil also proposed a $10 billion investment in Nigeria's deep water oil operations. This is coming just as the international maritime giant DP World has announced plans to develop a multi-billion-dollar port project in Nigeria.
This year's UN General Assembly largely portrayed the respect Nigeria has earned on the global scene. It didn't matter that VP Shettima was representing President Bola Tinubu. He got a spot to address the General Assembly on the first day, a situation that is highly unlikely for representatives of heads of government.
Now joining me for more on Nigeria's gains at the UN General Assembly is former Captain, United States Army Bish Johnson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Right. Now, Nigeria, just like other African countries, has an ambitious goal of getting a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. Now, what are our chances?
Well, look, let me start by saying that when you are in a meeting where people are encouraged to raise their hands and ask questions, if you don't raise your own hand, when others do, you will not be recognized. So, with over 200 million population, 1 in 4 black persons in the world is in Nigeria. So it makes sense to me that Nigeria is a member of is a permanent member of the UN Security Council, so that black people and Africans have a say and a voice in critical global matters. Nevertheless, if there is such thing as the expansion of the permanent membership of the UN Security Council, and slots are allocated to Africans, it will be automatically decided to Nigeria. Other countries like Egypt, South Africa, Kenya, and even Ghana may also equally be interested. And so Nigeria does not only need to scale up, intensive lobbying activities in Africa and outside, but may have to also work hard to improve convert some of its negative indices to positive ones, such as trying to bring down insecurity, lower poverty. And so by doing so, it will improve its chances of securing a seat in a
All right, the U.S., which is a permanent member on the UN Security Council, appears to be a bit more supporting the mission to have 2 African countries on the council, but with a clause. It would be without the veto power of the original permanent members. Isn't that a contradiction of sort?
Personally, have been, I have been very, very critical of the United Nations. Because to me, the United Nations seems to be one institution that has been so concerned about democracy across the globe, but it is the most undemocratic institution or organization in the world. And I say this because you have a situation where a few privileged nations have this veto power that gives them this enormous power to override the decisions of all over every other country in the world. So I think that the issue of veto power should be eliminated entirely. No nation should have that ability to override the decision of the majority. If the UN is going to keep talking about democracy, it has to start within the United Nations itself. And that is by getting rid of veto power by any nation, so that the decisions are made by the majority of the people, and not a situation where one nation, just one nation, overrides the decision of majority of all nations on the planet. And so I will not support the position of the United Nations. If they are going to give permanent membership to African countries, those African countries should also have that veto power that the other permanent members have. If not, they should eliminate the veto power for all nations, so that decisions should be reached based on majority of nations of members of the United Nations.
All right, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. And I've been speaking with former Captain United States Army, Bish Johnson. Thanks for your time with us.
Thank you for having me.
And back here.